Welcome to another captivating episode of Raw Conversations,
where fearless moms and experts unite to explore alternative practices. Hey there, I'm Allie.
And I'm Melania. Our mission is to empower your one-of-a-kind parenting journey. Join us as we explore unconventional birthing and parenting methods.
Get ready for inspiration, authentic stories, and unwavering family love.
Together, we're rewriting our rules of parenting one bold step at a time.
So without further ado, let's kick off this empowering conversation.
Raw Conversations, where fearless motherhood leads the way. Today, we're taking a closer look at a powerful tool that's changing lives, and it's known as hypnosis. And we already know what you're thinking, and we promise you that by listening to this episode at the end, you will not be clucking like a chicken. There will be no funny business. This practice is often surrounded by much misconception, but it has proven to be a profound source of support and empowerment, specifically for women throughout their motherhood journey, and what we're looking today in our podcast. Our guest, Sonjali, a member of the Master Hypnosis Society, is here to guide us and walk us through hypnosis. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for me. Hello. Okay.
Sonjali, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you entered into this field?
Sure. Okay. So we'll start off. My name's Sonjali. It's such
Sonjali.
a mouthful.
Oh my God, I keep saying it wrong. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. You know what? We're going to hold my parents accountable for that one. What were they thinking?
But we're in the same boat. My entire life, I've either been Melanie, Melania. No one can pronounce my name correctly. So, from a fellow person, I'm really sorry.
You got it. Yeah. So sorry. So we're going back. So you wanted to know a bit about me,
yourself, and how you exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a hypnotist. So I'm the founder and director at the West Island Hypnosis Center. So yes, we're a Master Hypnotist Society compliant clinic. And I just say that's a fancy way of saying the methodology we use to help people create changes in their life, managing pain, stress, developing confidence, helping with their relationships, quitting smoking, losing weight, is all supported by over 40 years of research. It's really powerful tools that I've used on myself to literally transform my life from a pretty, I can say, an honest, kind of dark and gloomy place. So my journey started a couple of years ago when I was working. I was running a business, a family business in the manufacturing sector. It was a high demand job. There was a lot of hours put in, and I was very stressed. I was smoking on bad days upward of a pack of cigarettes a day. My hair was falling out. I was stressed. Wow. I had horrible insomnia. And one day, lo and behold, there's a lot of stuff coming into my life. My father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. He's still going, by the way, and that was many years ago. So I had this pretty dramatic breakup from a fiance, and then I was working all kinds. I had no time for myself, no time for self-care. And so just like most people who have chronic stress for an extended period of time, I got quite ill. And so my husband, we'd gotten married not long before, said, he held me to task and he said, you did say you'd quit smoking. And I'm like, okay, I did say that. So it was time. And lo and behold, I saw a hypnotist. And to be honest, did I really believe in it? No, but I knew that I didn't really have willpower. So I saw this wonderful hypnotist and I was kind of blown away by the results, and I was really fascinated with it. And then I was at that point reevaluating my life. Is this stress necessary? What am I doing? Having sort of that existential crisis, let's say. And not long after, I'd actually gotten quite ill, and I had this pretty devastating diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. And so my life really turned upside down, and I was really put in a position where I had to reevaluate, what are you doing with your life? Are you happy? What does this all mean? Do you have a lifestyle that's going to support what's this change that you have? And the answer was no. And I knew I had to change things pretty quickly. So I had terrible pain for a couple of months. I lost function a bit in one of my legs, and that really put a damper on things. And I always knew from being very young, I always wanted to be a mom and have a family. But when you get a devastating diagnosis like that, it becomes terrifying. It's like, what if I don't energy? What if I'm too sick to care for my young one? Is my husband still going to love me? Are people going to accept me? And so all of these things going through your head was just making things worse. So in search of a better alternative from traditional therapies or medicine, I looked up hypnosis, and then I'm like, what if I did this? Because, it ticked off all those boxes. You help people for a living. You get paid for it, which is also awesome. You get to work on yourself. And so lo and behold, that's what I studied. And it's been this incredible journey. And a lot of my colleagues who also have clinics in the Master Hypnotist Society, I've seen incredible stories as well, from people who used to like clean toilets for a living to running these successful clinics, to somebody who had a pretty severe brain trauma injury, making, pennies a year on disability, over 100 pounds overweight, transform her life, open up a clinic, get healthier, lose all the weight, quit smoking. So it's been this incredible journey. And since then, our clinic has been located in the past year in a pelvic floor physio center, which helps a lot of women prepare for. You're nodding your head like, yes, I've used that and I need it very much.
I was literally there a few days ago.
Right. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And so I used one myself, and then we got discussing that this was a nice fit to be within the clinic. I've been seeing a lot of pregnant moms, preparing them for childbirth. A lot of moms, and this is not everybody's journey, but a lot of moms wanted to experience childbirth in a natural way, whether it's natural with the use of drugs, or an epidural, or something in between. Hypnosis is this wonderful tool to help people change how they relate to the pain and focus on other things, so that they can have a more beautiful, fulfilling birth experience. So that was a long sum up, and I hope it gave you a little idea of what it is I
Yeah.
do. But many things, and childbirth is definitely one of them.
Before we get into how hypnosis can benefit someone before, during, and after pregnancy, can you explain to us a little bit about what hypnosis is? Because I think the general assumption is this person is going to get into my head and they're like afraid of what's going to happen. And,
There's going to be a word that's said out in public, and then all of a sudden you start acting differently.
Yeah, exactly. So I was one of those people. So before I understood what hypnosis was, these were exactly my concerns. I thought it was also something pretty, I mean, I do get a lot of clients who think it's pretty flowery, but they come in because they've tried literally every other thing, and, that they didn't have results. So they're like, okay, what's this? And then they come in, and then they learn that it's actually something very natural that we've all experienced many, many times before. Okay, so in the 1950s, the American Medical Association actually approved hypnosis as an area of study. And since then, more and more, we're seeing it integrated into the medical system, into dentistry. One of its original applications, I'd say, the way it's been used publicly is through dentistry. And today, even my dentist, I was telling her when I changed professions a couple of years ago, I told her I was a hypnotist. She's like, oh, I've been trained in hypnosis. A lot of dentists are, so that they can help conversationally help their patients calm down. A lot of them are scared of needles or terrified of dentists. So it's been effective that way.
I'm one of
But
those
we see
people.
it in all domains. What's that?
I'm one of those people terrified of the
You're one of
dentist.
those people. Exactly. Right. So it's been really helpful in that. But as I said, like, what a lot of people don't really realize is that all hypnosis is actually self-hypnosis. And your hypnotist is just your guide or your instructor, but you're doing it all the time to yourself anyways. Okay. And so, like, one example I often give clients is, if you've ever driven, right, or even ridden a bike, or have done a repetitive sort of mundane task like washing the dishes, and you find that, like, your mind is drifting and wandering, maybe you're daydreaming. And then if you're driving, all of a sudden you're in your parking spot and you're like, oh my goodness, where has the last 10 blocks go? And you will know, like, turn left here, stop at the light, but you were just somewhere else. That's a great example of being in a trance-like state, which is a part of hypnosis. Okay, another way is, do you ladies enjoy shows or movies or anything?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah. Okay. You ever seen like a movie and it was just funny and you're laughing along with it, or maybe it's quite sad, or you're watching The Notebook and you find yourself, ugly crying the next second. So that's
Yeah.
a great example of us being emotionally suggestible, which is also a part of hypnosis. Okay. So we see it
Interesting.
everywhere. Doulas frequently use this and to help with childbirth. We see athletes use it when they're really in the zone, really hyper focused on what they're doing. They're in a state of hypnosis or a trance-like state. Students use it when they want to get into the zone to hyper focus, right? People who give speeches when they are just in the zone, they don't notice what else is going on around them. It's literally used anywhere. We're kind of always in these sort of trance-like states, right?
Would you say it's similar to meditation?
Very similar in that it induces a state of relaxation. And that's a really great and common question. So, meditation and hypnosis both induce that state of relaxation. So, for a lot of people, meditation really feels like a nice vacation, right? They're going through a lot of stress or there's a lot of stimulation every day. So, they use that time to just focus on the present or what they're doing. So hypnosis is very similar, and definitely it is meditative. The difference is that through hypnosis, we're actually working on something we want to achieve or an outcome.
One last question before we get into the pre, during, and after pregnancy. Somebody walks in. Are you assessing what's like somebody walks into your office and they're coming for the first time, and what are you typically assessing, or what are the things that you are looking for, or do you just get right into it? Like, how does it work when someone's walking into an office with you?
Yeah, so what I do is that I actually offer a free hypnotic screening for clients. The purpose of this is that they get the opportunity to meet directly with the hypnotist and they have all their questions answered. And then I also see if it's a good fit for us to take them as a client. So clients who are good candidates at hypnosis have a genuine and sincere want to change. They're also willing to do the work because it's not just snap your fingers and woo, there I go, right? It's there's a little bit of work.
But I think that's the impression of hypnosis. Like,
Yeah, and sometimes often it is that simple, right? But what it is, if we're to give like a formula to hypnosis, it really is fixation and repetition. Okay. And so it's the repetition that really has this sort of solidify in our head to create new ways, new behaviors, new habits. People often change right away, and it's a beautiful thing. But we also want to make sure that this change is sustainable and they keep going with it. And that's where we teach them how to use repetition so that it sticks there. To give you an example, like if we see a lot of weight loss clients, right? And we have people come in to lose anywhere between, oh my God, 20 pounds to 200 pounds. And for them, it's like you probably have experienced this or know somebody who's experienced this. They go on this journey of weight loss or getting healthier, and they're so good for 6 weeks. Like they do everything right. And then, I don't know, a cold throws them off, or a visitor comes from out of town, or they go on vacation and it throws things off balance. And next thing you know, they're back into their old ways, maybe even worse off than when they started. Okay, so hypnosis, that repetition really gives them the tools so that, you can have a little life event be altered and you can still go on your path to get the outcome that you want.
Are there some people that cannot be hypnotized? Or
Oh,
can
that's
this, like you said, like as long as you put in the work, it can happen to anyone?
Yeah, so there's basically three people who cannot be hypnotized. Okay, another great question. So the first person who can't be hypnotized is somebody who's like, inebriated, drunk, or high, and it's just because they don't have the attention span to really focus. Okay, and the second person is somebody who clinically has an IQ below 70. If anyone is listening to this right now, they likely do not fall into that category. And that's just, again, because they likely can't hold their attention long enough to be able to focus. And
Okay.
the third person, and perhaps to a lot of people's annoyance, the third person who is not a great candidate for hypnosis or can't be hypnotized is who we call the smart aleck. And this person's really trying to prove how smart and strong-willed that they are. And this person will not be hypnotized simply because they don't want to. And they've actually hypnotized themselves so much to say, I'm too strong and powerful and mighty that I will not be hypnotized. Okay. But everyone really has before.
It's like that person who says, "Oh, I'm not. I know it won't work for me."
Right.
Off the bat.
Right.
Exactly.
We know a few of those.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's like hypnotic in itself, is that you're already doing half the work by, that repetition, that fixation, that repetition. So, and it's interesting to hear that, because I often joke with clients when they come in, is that joking but half real, is that our job is to unhypnotize them because they've put so much kind of crap in their heads and everyone's done it, and then believe it through that repetition.
Are there any like other misconceptions that maybe we haven't touched upon that people walk into your office?
I'm guessing you might think this too, is that a lot of people come in and they might be scared that they might black out, or they might be taken advantage of, or I might ask for their wallet or something like that. Okay. And so, and rightfully so. Maybe I was one of these people before I experienced hypnosis, especially my hypnotist was male. So as a female, you have these little, I guess, extra concerns, right? And so I can really simply explain to you what hypnosis feels like. And if you're both willing to participate in this, it'll take all of maybe 5 seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you willing?
So I'll
Yeah.
invite
Okay.
you both. It's very simple. I'll invite you both to just go ahead and close your eyes. Okay. And as you sit there with your eyes closed, notice that this is very similar to what hypnosis feels like. You'll always be relatively aware of what's going on around you at all times. And okay, you should not expect to black out in any way. You can pop your eyes open. Okay, then that's it. Okay.
We're both still here.
It feels like
We're still here.
we're still there. Yeah, you didn't disappear or anything. Okay. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that's really interesting and a part of hypnosis is it's yes, we do hypnosis. Okay, a master hypnotist or somebody who runs a hypnosis clinic in the Master Hypnotist Society umbrella, they will do hypnosis, but there's a lot of other things that happen in a session. I mean, sometimes we're silly, we move our body, sometimes we juggle, okay, sometimes we read something. But one thing that we really do to assure that clients get their outcome is help them get out of patterns that are unuseful. Okay, and I'll explain a little bit about what I mean. So, everybody's got a dominant pattern based on what they're unconsciously trying to prove to themselves. And they are absolutely not right or wrong. It's kind of a strategy that we've adopted as we go about life to help us out. Okay, so for example, some people are really rules and membership oriented, and these people are unconsciously trying to prove how much they belong, which again, not right or wrong. But sometimes this means that, they like belonging to groups, hockey clubs, they're part of teams. Even members of gangs are very rules and membership oriented as well. And so for them, what they often need to learn to model is the sweet spot between being independent and dependent, which is intradependent. Okay, so that they can actually go on with their life and live it to its fullest. Okay, we have people who are security minded. Okay, and security minded people unconsciously are trying to prove how safe they are. Okay, so they work, the same jobs for a long time with the benefits. They don't love change as much as other people. It takes them a while to adapt to it. They often have perfectionist tendencies. Okay, we might see that a little bit or a lot. Okay, and so for them, sometimes it's like they do make choices or decisions often based on what feels safe. So for them, it's really learning how to model somebody who's more freedom minded so that they can live their life, in a more genuine way, not based on avoiding some type of pain or out of fear, but really going into something or pursuing something they want. Is that making sense to you both?
Yeah.
What about
Okay.
two moms who are very organized with their children's schedules and some
What
may
they
call
eat, what they
OCD?
watch.
So if I may, like, you both would fall into this profile of being security minded, right?
Yeah,
Like
I
maybe you've like,
I felt it when you were talking about it. I was like, okay, check, check, check.
yep, exactly. Okay. And so sometimes, so what can be useful? So I see a lot of moms, especially as they embrace motherhood. So let's just joke around for a while and think about something funny. How much before you were moms did you think, I'm going to do things like this, and when people do it like that, that's wrong, but we should do it this way? And then you
Yeah.
became moms and you're like, wow, that went very differently than what I thought,
I'm
right?
never gonna chase my daughter around with a fork and spoon around the house. They're gonna sit in the high chair and they're gonna eat.
I'm never gonna co-sleep.
Yeah.
I'm never going to
And
go
here we
sleep.
are.
Yeah, my kid is always going to eat, the all the food groups and healthy, and then yeah, okay, all a whole bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
My house is going to be spotless. Okay, a bunch of stuff that we tell
No
ourselves.
screen time ever
Yeah.
in a restaurant on the airplane. No.
That changed.
Exactly. It does. Yeah, it does. It definitely does. So like you both, I see moms like, I'll tell you about this one mom. So she was in the realm of, starting up being an influencer, and she was wonderfully creative, and I swear her house just looked like it was out of a magazine. Everything was white and beige, which for me, when you have young kids, is incredibly ambitious, right?
Mhm.
And she wrapped gifts and they were gorgeous. Like her bedroom, like with the bedspread and the fluffy 10 or 12 pillows, looked just like out of a magazine. Everything she did, like she was a beautiful woman. She looks put together, not a hair out of place. She goes somewhere, her makeup is just perfectly done, not too much, not too little. Okay. And she's just really, really sweet, wonderful person. And she obviously came in because she had massive amounts of stress. Right?
Mhm.
Massive amounts of stress. So for her, she had to learn that as she embraced motherhood, she was mother to 3 children, including one adopted child who had special needs. She had to learn how to let go of the perfection because it was actually just getting in the way of her being happy. And that pressure to look perfect all the time, to have this unmessy life, right? To
Mhm.
want to control things was actually causing her to have little enjoyment of life and of her kids and even like of her business. So it was very interesting to watch her transform, that when she sort of learned how to surrender into life and its messiness, that she was able to, get out and go out, and she was actually isolating herself for a long time because it's just her stress just grew astronomically. And she was able to go out with her kids, enjoy their time, being like, okay, maybe a few dishes are left in the sink tonight, not a big deal. I'd rather spend time with my kids and enjoy that time and not just feel like I'm checking all the boxes, so to speak.
Mhm. Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And so it's true, there be a lot of patterns. So another pattern that comes out is people who are freedom minded. Okay, and freedom minded people unconsciously are trying to prove how free they are. So often great entrepreneurs, they work maybe in sales, real estate agents, good with people. And while they're trying to prove how free they are, sometimes they kind of shoot themselves in the foot, because it's also true that they get very bored of things very quickly and jump from thing to thing to thing. We all
Mhm.
kind of might know somebody who's like this, right? And
Mhm.
so for them, when they embrace motherhood, it's often an earth shattering experience, because life as you know it changes. You can't do a lot of the things you used to do for a while. And it's really kind of finding your way and finding that balance of what am I willing to do and what am I willing to maybe put aside for now. Okay,
Mhm.
so they often learn how to model somebody who's more security minded as they embrace motherhood. Okay, you have people who are also self expressive. These people unconsciously are trying to prove how unique they are. So often, they might dress a bit more whimsically, have fun colored hair, lots of art. They're usually artsy people. And for them, when they're trying to prove how, let's say, unique they are, often it's getting in the way of connecting, or um, kind of being compliant in a way that makes sense. So to give you an example, I had this lovely young lady come in, and she was brilliant. I mean, she studied like actuary mathematics, which is apparently very, very intense and competitive. And she was very educated, and she just couldn't hold down a job. And she just, she came because it was stressing her out, and she felt like she wasn't making the money she wanted to make. And for her, she had to learn how to model somebody who was more security minded and go to work and look more conforming, wear, let's say, the quote unquote, the uniform, right?
Mhm.
And then when she went home, feel free, express yourself, let it out. Okay. Do anything that you want to express yourself. But when it's work, it's more useful. Okay. You're going to get your outcome by being more compliant, more conforming.
Mm.
Okay. And
Wow.
and the last pattern is somebody who's unconsciously trying to prove how competent they are. Okay, so these people are usually very educated. They have something to prove, and so they usually are very smart and usually are very competent. But sometimes that gets in the way of connecting with people. Okay, so there's a lot of, let's say, difficulties or challenges in relationships because they're so much in their head, very cerebral, that
Mhm.
they don't know how to connect or be present. So they learn how to do that and get out of their heads. Does
Wow.
that make
Fascinating.
sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we can
Okay.
talk
And,
about this
and
forever.
yes, yes. And it definitely manifests in different ways in motherhood. We can have one pattern is usually dominant, but all of them could be present. We could be freedom minded in terms of our job,
Mhm.
security minded as a parent or in a relationship, or self expressive in our job, but let's say rules of membership with our family life.
A woman comes to you before even getting pregnant. And Allie and I were talking, there must be so many different kind of people that walk in, right? Somebody who might have a fear of birth, maybe somebody who's experienced miscarriages, or somebody who's had a traumatic birth.
Mm.
What do you typically see in your office with somebody even before they've gotten pregnant?
Right. So just like everyone, so what we just described, the patterns, is that we'll really get a pretty accurate read of what their wants are. So I basically, ask them, like, let's say we had a magic wand. I know, I wish to. I wish that existed. But let's say we did, and you get exactly what you need out of your program. What does that look like to you? What does that sound like to you? What does that feel like to you? Okay,
Mhm.
so yes, women come in. I've seen quite a few women, they come in either because they can't get pregnant and it's stressing them out and affecting their self confidence or their relationship. And, we probably all know a story like this, but so again, we don't cure or treat or diagnose medical conditions, but we do often see how stress manifests in a million different ways. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you a little situation, and you might say that this sounds a bit familiar to you. So have you ladies, or anyone who's listening, heard of a story of somebody who's really, really trying to get pregnant and it's
Mhm.
just not happening? And then they
Mhm.
stop
So
trying
many.
and then
Mhm.
they get pregnant, right? Or
Mhm.
they adopt. And then after giving up, the dream of having a
They get
natural or
pregnant.
their own child, they get pregnant, right? After
Yeah.
adoption. Or, they're going through IVF, or, trying to conceive in whatever way they can, or uh, get to a surrogate and then get pregnant, right? So we hear tons of stories like that. And it can be said, and there's a lot of, compelling evidence to show that the stress and the pressure of trying to get pregnant is kind of the thing getting in the way.
Mhm.
Okay, so often that means getting out of a pattern, and that's helpful as well. Okay, so again, we don't treat or diagnose medical conditions. I'm not an expert in fertility by any means, but I have seen this personally many times of clients who've come in, and that was the situation. And then once they actually learned how to manage their stress, they got pregnant pretty fast.
It's so crazy to me just how stress manifests itself and where it
Yeah.
can go in the body and where it can affect in the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so would you see someone who had like a super traumatic birth and
Yes.
they're almost like
Yeah.
afraid to do it all over again? It's just, I
Absolutely.
guess, a method of rewiring, right?
Yeah, so that's a really good word, like a really powerful word. So a lot of what we do, like there's this new science that's getting a lot of you know, a lot of chatter about it, which is neuroplasticity, right? It's literally how we can create new connections in our brain, rewire our brain to create new habits, beliefs, and behaviors. And what's interesting about the nervous system is that it has this memory beyond what we actually remember. So we have, and I'm actually going to, if you ladies are up for it, I'm going to show you this really neat technique to show you what I mean in a moment, if you're willing to
Yeah.
participate with that. Okay. So we have memory, and we have things happening to us. We call them anchors. Okay. And anchors are happening to us all the time. So it's really happening during peak sort of emotional experiences. So to give you an example, I frequently use this one. Do you remember the song of the summer, the year you graduated high school?
I feel like I remember just because I put it in my yearbook.
Do you?
Well, it was the time when like David Guetta was like really popular
Oh,
and his whole
Right.
album.
I'm so
Okay.
bad with
So
memory.
no problem. So listen, so that maybe there's a song from way back when. So when you were younger and you were
Mm.
going out with your friends and the windows were down and you're all, I don't know, screaming the song at the top of
Mhm.
your lungs, whatever it is. To this day, we all got that song. You listen
Yeah.
to that song and you don't know why. It just puts you in a great mood.
Yeah.
Okay. Or maybe you go somewhere, somebody invites you over for supper, and you go in the house and you're like, oh my gosh, that smells like something, I don't know, my grandmother used to cook. Right.
Mm.
Or you get you taste something and you're like, oh my God, this reminds me of something I ate in my childhood. Can't put my finger on it, but it's almost there. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So we have what we call these things. Some people call them triggers, right? I just call them things that fire them off. So it could be something you see, something you hear, something you smell, something you taste, something you even feel. Okay. And your nervous system has memory. So this is happening all the time. So in the event that, let's say, like I worked with this one client, and she was pregnant with her second child when she came to see me. And her first pregnancy, she had a wonderful pregnancy, terrible delivery experience, like very, very traumatic. And it shook her up. So she obviously was quite nervous about the whole delivering experience again. And she also wanted to do it all naturally. She didn't want anything to do with any type of epidural or any pain management. She wanted to do it just for herself. So for her, we had to have her really change or reframe her past birth experience. And she had to sort of know that that was that experience that time, and she's safe, and sort of be more open and receptive to whatever happens this time, and ready for it, and understand that she's going to be okay no matter what. And that's the experience that we really want to give them. Okay, but to give you an idea of what this anchor business is about, I say it's a great idea if we actually go and learn how to do it. What do you say?
Totally.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you something a little strange, okay, before we start this. So before I start this, can you both think of a time when you felt, maybe as a mom, and because you're moms, I can imagine the answer would be yes to this, but maybe a little bit overwhelmed or overstimulated
Mhm.
pretty recently? You're like, yes, 5 minutes ago.
Last night.
Okay. And so I'm going to ask you something a little strange. I want you to go ahead and recreate that. Go ahead and feel like that again. Maybe imagine it, but we're only going to bring it to, like, let's say a 5 or 6 out of 10.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. And you're both feeling it a bit.
Mm. I'm sweating.
Okay. So, I was going to ask you, how do you know you're feeling that way? So listen to your body and just what's different in your body.
It like brings you back to that moment of like anxiousness for me.
I feel it like my heart rate.
There you go. Yeah. And how do you know that you're anxious, Allie?
I'm sweating. Like my palms start to sweat. I'm just like, how my brain goes, how can I fix this? Right away. I'm
Right.
in like hyper mode.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay. So I'm going to teach you a trick that's going to show you how you can actually calm this down quite easily. Okay. And will show you how an anchor works. So we actually have the power, and this is something people learn in a hypnosis program, that have the power to control our moods. And this is a quick little technique that you can use at any time. Okay. So I'm going to invite you both to use your imagination a bit. Okay. And everybody's got an imagination. As adults, generally speaking, we get wonderfully boring and we disconnect from that wonderful part of our life. But if you have kids, you see they're wonderfully imaginative.
Mhm.
Really, really nice. And that's why they're really great learners as well. Okay. So I'll have you both, if it's all right with you, close your eyes for a moment. And this will take just a couple of seconds. And as you have your eyes closed, we want to make sure that our arms and our legs are uncrossed. Okay, and that they're just resting on our lap. That would be useful. And can you both think of a time when you actually felt wonderfully just calm, tranquil, relaxed? Okay, and if you both get that moment that you can think of, you can just go ahead and nod your heads.
Hmm.
So we're going to really use our imagination to kind of step into this experience, recreate it like if it was happening right now. Okay. And as you step into that experience, just notice that as you think about it, as you remember it or re experience it, what is it you're seeing in your head? Are you seeing like a picture, or is it more like a movie with moving parts?
Like a movie for me.
Okay.
I'm still, but what's happening in front of me is moving.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's
Mhm.
more like a movie. Great. And are they in color or black and white?
Color.
Color.
Great. Okay, so as we continue stepping into this experience, you're seeing that colorful movie. I want you to go ahead and imagine that you hear the sounds that were going on around you at that time when you felt wonderfully relaxed, tranquil, peaceful, almost like you can hear them now. Okay, and we'll take this a little step further as we step into this experience. If any smells or tastes pop out to you, okay, just go ahead and imagine you can just capture that smell, that essence, or that taste. And if those aren't there, that's totally fine as well. Great. And as you do that, continuing to step into this experience, you're going to go ahead and just listen to your bodies. And as you listen to your bodies, I'm curious, where do you notice that sensation, that feeling of being peaceful and calm? Where do you notice it the most in your body?
I feel like my chest area.
Yeah,
I still feel a tightness in my chest, but I feel it's in my stomach.
the relaxation, the peace. Yeah. Okay. So continuing to keep your eyes closed and stepping into this, let's go ahead and imagine that there's a volume dial as if you were going to turn the radio up. And really see it in your mind. Imagine turning that dial all the way to maximum. And as you turn that dial to maximum, it's like this whole experience becomes bigger in your mind, more intense. You're going to see that movie even brighter. Imagine hearing the sounds clearer, even louder, tasting or smelling even more, and really intensify that feeling of relaxation right in your bodies. Go ahead and make everything bigger. Okay, good. Now holding on to that intensity, go ahead and make a fist with your hand and take a nice breath in and let it out slowly now. Great. And you can open up your hands and open your eyes. Okay. And we're going to do something. We're just going to look up for a sec and then look down. Okay. And both of you, how many kids do you have?
1.5.
Okay. And what color are your front doors?
Black.
Beige.
Oops. Like we have to think about it for a second, huh? Okay. So now I'm going to invite you to go ahead and try and get all overwhelmed again.
My chest is so calm now.
Yeah.
Okay. So that took just a couple of seconds. So you ladies just actually programmed yourselves so that if you ever wanted to recreate that feeling of calm again, you can just make a fist and take a breath just like we did, and your nervous system is going to remember what that feeling is like, and you're actually going to recreate it in your body, which is pretty neat. Okay, so these are
Cool.
happening all the time anyways. Yeah, it's pretty neat. It just takes a couple of seconds, but this is pretty much an idea of how an anchor works, good or bad. So we're having great ones and terrible ones. So I go back to the story of this woman who came in and she had a bad birth experience. So what was happening with her is that when she saw a doctor and went for her OBGYN appointments, she started to get incredibly nervous and extremely stressed. She started sweating profusely. Her heart started beating. And so this was really an anchor for her because she had that experience last time. So she learned how to get out of that response and how to choose a new mood that she could step into so that her experience could be a lot calmer and pleasant even.
Why did you ask us what color our doors are?
That's interesting. We're just changing things up to pop you out of a state of
Oh,
mind to
okay.
prove to yourself that it's
Okay.
Mhm.
Can I ask, where did you go?
I went to our community pool at the clubhouse in Florida with Isabel and the
Oh.
waterfall.
I was at the beach in Florida.
Oh, see, we just need to go to Florida and every problem will be solved.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so it's like you can go to Florida whenever you want, almost, right?
Yeah. Wow, that's so
Mm.
funny.
Yeah.
Thought of that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. So that was before getting
Yeah.
pregnant. Now, so let's take me for an example. I
Mhm.
am due in about a month.
Mhm.
I had a cascade of intervention type of birth that I didn't want the first time around at a hospital. So this time when I got pregnant, I am now with a midwife at a birthing center. I want to go fully unmedicated. I've been pumping myself up. So I guess
Mhm.
self-hypnotizing myself to, give
Mhm.
myself that strength and power to be able to do it.
Mhm.
So someone like me, what kind of advice would you give to really get through it?
Okay. Well, for somebody like you, again, we go back into this pattern, right? Being
Yeah.
security minded. And it's likely, so it's really wonderful that you're doing this visualization, but it also mean that sometimes that means that you want to learn how to be flexible and accepting of whatever happens. So people who are security minded, often that they're really trying to control things, right? And so they plan their lives based on how they can control things. So for a lot of people, that means popping out of that and being really accepting of whatever happens and embracing it and adapting to it. So that's one. And second is really kind of stepping into the mood for it. But I'd also say, see a hypnotist, and
Yeah.
hypnotist can actually help you focus on stuff as well. So what's interesting is that some people ask, like, are you going to be there the day of like the birth? And I say, no, I'm actually going to teach you how to do this for yourself so that you can use it here, but also in many other ways in your life as well. Okay, so people come for one outcome, but there's often like, when people come in for insomnia, so I have a sleep improvement program and I have a stress management program, and people think that they're sort of different, but they're often very intertwined, right? So it's sorry, go ahead.
Sleep improvement. At what age does this begin? Just curious.
Terrible twos?
Are we helping
Oh, so
children?
children as of 8 years old, we do work with kids. We do have the minimum age of 8, but yes,
Okay.
mostly for mommies and people. It's true also that as women age, there's a whole, we're blessed. We have a whole bunch of stuff going on in our bodies at all times. So sleep for a lot of people becomes more challenging as they age, as they go through menopause, as they have changes in their lives.
How many sessions would someone need? Or it
So
depends.
that's exactly, yeah, it really depends. So that's exactly what a screening is for, is that the programs are custom, they're not standardized at all. And so by assessing what an individual person's needs are, that really gives the groundwork or the framework for what has to happen in their program. So some people come in and they find that they only need 3 sessions, and other people it's that there's a whole bunch of stuff that affects their outcome, and we need longer sessions because there's more learning required for them to get whatever outcome that they hope to get.
Interesting, because you and I are both very different. Like, I have a good pain tolerance and I've already been mentally prepping myself, whereas you want to go the natural route for your second one, but
Yeah.
you really
Terrified.
need that assistance and guidance,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so everyone's
Yeah,
different.
everybody's so different. Yeah.
And I mean, so the big word that's sticking out for me today is the pattern. But lastly, if someone's having a tough time postpartum, are
Mhm.
they able to come and partake in hypnosis?
Yeah, so that's a very good and interesting question. So I work with women and parents, not just women, so men as well, um, before, during, and post delivery. And so women suffering from postpartum issues, I do recommend it. Like it is sometimes it really is hormone. I do suggest consulting with your healthcare professional for that. But hypnosis can be a wonderful complement to that. In fact, hypnosis really is a wonderful complement to a lot of different types of services, from mental health services to anything sort of medical. Often, in times, if that is the case, we do require, let's say, written, authorization from a medical professional, just to make sure that there's no contraindication, which there usually isn't. But we want to make sure that that's not the case. So for postpartum, as people enter, parenthood either for the first time or they have multiple children, a lot of them, as you might be able to relate, have some stress because your life changes. And
Mhm.
humans naturally are not super equipped for change. It throws our worlds upside down. So a lot of this tools, strategies, and techniques that they learn here helps in all facets of life. So as a parent, again, getting out of the pattern, are we being too perfectionist? Can we find a way to interact with parenthood differently? Can we be a lot looser about things? A lot of women come in with work-life balance struggles, always having this mom guilt that seems to be common. And so for them, it's to really learn how to surrender into life, the messiness of it, let go of things that don't really matter. But I like to state this as a side note. A lot of people use a lot of different like modalities to help with stress and things going on in their life. And where hypnosis differs, and that I certainly have appreciated and benefited from this, is that a lot of it is like cause and effect, or as I joke, is that a lot of people have read all the self-help, or as I call the shelf help books, right? Is that you read them, they go on the shelf, or you buy them with every good intention of reading it, and then you get too busy and it just kind of sits there. But what I really enjoy about the hypnosis programs that we deliver here is that it's not just the cause and effect, it's not intellectualizing it, it's actually giving you the tool to step into what needs to happen, right? So it's like, you know, Ali or Millennia, has it ever happened? Somebody's like, hey, you should calm down. You really shouldn't be stressed about that. And you're like, well, thank you. If only it were
So
that
helpful.
easy.
Yeah.
So helpful.
Right? That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much. But hypnosis is that tool that's showing you how.
I have to say, like during my first pregnancy, hypnobirthing was never even
I've never
considered, spoken about.
No.
It was only until we started doing this podcast that people started mentioning, oh, hypnobirthing got me through my home birth. And I'm like, what is that?
There's even a hypnotist in the Master Hypnotist Society who owns a clinic. She's out in Alberta, and she actually used to be a doula. And that's how she got really interested in hypnosis, that she helped a lot of women deliver naturally. And then that, just progressed into a full career as hypnosis, because whatever she learned there could also be applied into other programs as well.
Totally opened my mind.
I know.
Yeah. It's neat because there is a lot of pain management clients come in as well. And it's the same thing, is that, so while it doesn't take away the pain, it actually changes how the brain, how you relate to it. Okay. So you know it's there, but you're not focused on it. You don't actually notice it as much.
It's funny that you mentioned doulas use a lot of these hypnosis techniques. One thing that I'm thinking of is she gave me a comb and she's like, put it in your hand. And every time you get a wave or a contraction, you squeeze it to kind of trick your mind into it being in a different place, right? So would that be kind of a little tool or a technique?
Certainly. Yeah. So what we like to say here is that, is there one methodology or method or a standard session? Absolutely not. Everybody's different. Every session looks completely different, but we go with, if it works, then do it. Okay. If you tell your client as a joke, I'm going to hit my head with this book, and when I do, you're going to feel wonderful, and that for some reason works for them, then that's what you're going to do. Okay.
I'm going to tell my husband that there's a new technique we learned.
Right?
Every time I have a contraction.
Not at all. Not at all. But you see what I mean? This like everybody's got like a different experience. And so they need a really different or different sort of techniques or tools in their program. But there is a lot of similarities between them as well.
With all of your knowledge, do you feel like there's anything that we haven't touched upon?
Well, if there's anything that doesn't come up, I'm certainly open to take questions in the future, and anyone can reach out at me. But to give the summary is that, yes, hypnosis is a wonderful tool for childbirth, so for people who want to do it naturally, unnaturally. Well, when I say unnaturally, I mean, with the help of an aid, or even for myself, I wanted to do it naturally and ended up having a cesarean. So it's even, and I was induced into labor and it didn't work out. And so all of these can be situations for everyone. So hypnosis is this wonderful tool to prepare for what I jokingly call game day, right? Is that no matter what happens, no matter what's thrown at you, that's what you're using as well. Yeah. And so no matter what is thrown out at you, you can adapt to it, and you know that you'll be fine, and that you can focus on the things that really matter, so you can have what should be a beautiful experience with it.
We're so appreciative of your time today and just sharing your expertise and your knowledge.
Oh, thank you. I'm truly honored to be here. And it was really nice to get to know you both through this and hear about your journeys as well.
We always add it to the show notes and to any of our social media information. But if anybody wanted to contact you, what would be the best way to get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, for people who are local in the Montreal area, you can always call us 514-697-4444. Some people might have heard that on our commercial on the radio. Okay. 514-697-4444. You can also consult our website, westislandhypnosis.ca. For people who are national, not have long distance or whatever, you can reach out through our website. Somebody can reach out to you that way. We do sessions in person at our clinic. We're located in the West Island of Montreal, but we also do many Zoom sessions across Canada and even some areas of the United States.
That's
So we'd be
perfect.
happy to discuss with you, set up your free screening, see if that's a good fit. And I really do appreciate you both having me here, and really hope that everyone got to learn more about hypnosis. And as a little present to offer any of the listeners, I want to offer you all, you can refer to this podcast, okay, Momversations, and say code 20, and I would be happy to give you a 20% discount on your program if you're accepted into one, as a thank you for listening today.
Wow,
Oh
that's
my God,
fantastic.
that's so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. So we will put all of that
Okay.
information in the show notes,
Mhm.
your Instagram account, your website. This was such an insightful episode. I think it really changed a lot of people's perspectives. So very interesting. Thank you so much for being here. We do have 2 questions we like to ask our guests.
Did we ask how many children do you have?
I have one.
Okay, one. Your
One daughter.
child is still your daughter's still young.
Yeah, she's 2 years old.
Okay, because these questions are kind of geared to the younger years.
Yeah.
Do you want to go with the first one?
Yeah, what would you recommend as your favorite baby product?
Oh, that is so good. My favorite baby product. Oh, I had so many. I love products. So baby product. Okay, so my breast friend I loved. I struggled a little bit with breastfeeding in terms of like, how do you hold the baby? I can't get it, it's latching. And I loved the breast friend. I used it all the way to 10 months. I loved it so much.
What's
So
the
breast
breast
friend,
friend?
it's the nursing pillow, so it actually
Oh,
like
okay.
clips around you. It's just the perfect shape. It's the perfect size. The baby can just lie on it. You can rest your arms on it. It's very comfortable. I really, really loved it. What else was there? Oh my gosh, there were so
What
many
an
good ones.
awesome name, breast friend. Did you
I
hear
know.
about this?
So
No.
smart. Yeah.
So
It's
smart.
very
Genius.
common. I bought it off Amazon. I would gift any mom who's breastfeeding or even bottle feeding. When we did mixed feeding for a while, and then she transitioned to bottles, and I still used it. She rested perfectly. It was such a great angle. I was still connecting with her. We could stare at each other. You know, that beautiful stare.
Oh,
She's drinking her bottle and we're staring at each other. It's really beautiful. That was one of them. And
And
there was
what
this
was?
really,
Oh,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
A second one I had was, oh my gosh, I think it was called the Shusher. It was something that was on like, I don't know, Dragon's Den or Shark's Tank. And it was basically a little orange toy that you turned on and it went shh, shh, shh.
oh,
And it calms newborns. Like they instantly are soothed by the shh sound. And I think I bought it more because I was just so curious. Does this actually work? It was amazing. I really, it's something you don't think it works, but it just calms the baby right down if they're feeling, a little unsettled. It's just a soothing sound for them, and it just a couple of minutes, and you can turn it on or off.
add to cart.
Right. I'm already gonna look into this breast friend for you.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't know if the breast friend kind of answers the question, but did you have a favorite mommy product, like something that really helped you personally throughout?
I mean, I don't want to be cliche and seem like I'm overselling it, but hypnosis has genuinely transformed my life. I use it myself every single day. There's not a day that I don't do it. I love it, not just because it just makes the day go better, and it can be something small. And I can use self hypnosis to just, so sometimes you have a long day, you didn't get much sleep, and then you find your patience kind of wavering a bit with your little ones, to step into a mood so that it goes better, from sleeping better to being more patient to being more creative with the types of games we play and the types of activities we do. It's literally anything. So it's been my saving grace for many things, including motherhood and myself, just like you. I was also very in that security mindset. I liked everything just so. I had perfectionist tendencies, and I wasted a lot of my time in life trying to make everything perfect. And when I really let go of that, I was like, I just felt incredibly freer as a person. So that's one of them. And the other one is, if you're blessed to have family help you out or support, that's wonderful. If you don't have as much family, I'd say friendships and people around you are just beautiful things, and really helping each other out and growing together and watching your kids grow together is incredible and beautiful.
Sure
I was
is.
about to hug you.
Just
This was
so
such a
right.
beautiful podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
This was another real and raw conversation.
It sure was.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you both. Thank you.